Just on the other side, where you think you're going to quit, your greatest breakthrough is about to happen.
And your greatest treasures will get discovered.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to podcast number 98 of the Gordon and Cherise show. And today, Gordon,
Yes.
This topic, this is your absolute, I think, one of your main things, characteristics that I love about you. And let me share what the topic is today.
All righty, let's do that, Cherise.
And it may carry into another podcast because this is such a good topic.
This is going to be a two-parter for sure. And I have a question before you introduce the podcast. Why do you move your hands around every time you start the show?
I'm so excited. Like I do. I maybe there's part Italian in me that I'm not aware of because I have to move my hands to express some things.
I think you've got some energy built up for this one.
I do.
Let's go ahead and get started. So the title is?
It is No Quit Through the Pain.
No Quit.
No quit. I didn't say don't quit. I said no quit.
I love it. I can't wait to dig into this.
And, so Gordon, no quit. When somebody is in chronic pain, what does that mean to somebody who is in pain? In your mind?
In my mind, it means exactly what it states. Do not quit your quest for living, despite the pain. Do not quit. And I think we should go down a few different things.
Yeah.
Because when you're dealing with chronic pain, or you're dealing with adversity, or you're dealing with just trials in life, it doesn't have to be someone in chronic pain. It can be someone who's struggling with financial problems, divorce problems, loss of a loved one.
Can I give a shout out to the caregivers and to those who are standing next to somebody in pain?
Yes.
That there's an emotional part that can shut down, and a part that says, I can do no more. And a part where they feel like quitting too. And I am one of they. So let me not separate myself from the they.
We are going through some caregiving trials now.
But even in other seasons of our marriage, besides what we're currently going through, just in your own chronic pain story, there's always the temptation for either one or the other of us at times to have quit.
Absolutely. And here we are, we have this platform. Mm-hmm. The whole platform is about continuing with your better living despite chronic pain and adversity. And don't think that we're not attacked spiritually, where we feel forces of opposition that try to make us quit at times.
Totally. Yeah.
And so it is an ongoing feature with life. But I know this, to quit, if we quit, we're basically resigning from our purpose in life. So no matter who you are, you might say, oh, I don't have a purpose. Well, time out. Your purpose might be that you're just existing right now and waiting upon some answers, or waiting upon the Lord if you're a believer and have a strong faith.
100%.
Okay? You may be in a waiting period right now, but if you quit, you're going to resign from your purpose. You're going to abandon, you're going to desert every part of who you are and what you're created to do.
Because I think this is the good news about the chronic pain journey, is that your purpose is so much deeper than what you do. And when chronic pain hits and all those things that have become the identity of what somebody was with a career, or what you did before in your life, and when life is an identifying factor with what you do instead of who you are, like, I think I'm so grateful for this side of the journey to realize through it all that if you quit, when you talk about quitting, you're giving up on your entire being. Like, don't do that, because it's amazing what unfolds in that chronic pain journey.
Sure. And let's discuss this for a second. Let's just pause. We don't have to go by a format of notes or anything because...
Well, I haven't even read them, so that's good.
Well, that's wonderful. Okay.
You work so hard at this, and then sometimes I just haven't been able to get to it lately.
Most of the time, our podcasts are impromptu, and here's just a few highlights of thoughts. We have a whole library of information about our ventures with chronic pain. But I can say this. If you quit, if you resign, part of it is when you're in chronic pain, you don't feel like you have a purpose, and you can't even discern what it is. So by quitting, it's giving up on the real treasures that are buried through the journey.
Yeah.
How long did it take where different times we have found purpose with me? I was once a doctor, okay, then a patient, then a transformed man. But we saw the purpose bubbling and resurfacing and growing over time. If I would have quit, if the audience member is thinking about quitting, you're not going to discover your purpose. And that's the lifeblood of why you do exist.
And the purpose for us as we've gone through this journey is not some nebulous thing that is so far out there. You've always said this. Go inward.
Go inward, and many times the purpose is right in front of your nose. And many times when you're in chronic pain, you don't want to be bothered with something that you think is minuscule, that is below you. You don't even want to deal with it. So the temptation to quit, especially with the fatigue in your body and you're worn out mentally and emotionally, you just feel like you have potholes within who you are as an inner person. My goodness, the temptations are ongoing. Another part, if you quit, this suggests that you're willing to surrender to a lesser standard for your life about what you believe for yourself, as well as how you perceive God and your faith.
And what about the people who say, I don't deserve more than this? This is what I deserve.
Well, chronic pain has a way of crushing you to that point where you feel like it. You're so riddled in your body with guilt and shame and condemnation in this feeling that I don't like any part of who I am, and I deserve it because I've made so many wrong mistakes. I've done things like I should not have done before. And that's instilled in you. And so what happens is by quitting, you're surrendering to those beliefs.
You start walking in a false belief system because and that leads to the most destructive thoughts ever.
Absolutely.
Don't you think?
Absolutely. It's saying I am lesser than less. Then it really comes down to this question: how can you love yourself?
You can't. I mean, and I can say that even for somebody not living in the physical chronic pain, but going through emotional pain.
Right.
It's like when you think that you're less than less and you take yourself and crush yourself and see no value in yourself. How can you, if it has to go, you have to start inward, because if you don't put on that new lens of seeing how worthy you are, even in your pain, and how valuable you are.
Cherise, I totally agree. Worth and value are some of the underscored words that people should think about. When we're talking about loving yourself, we're not talking about having some fantasaical or romantic love or love that's based on lust or vanity of who you are.
But you kind of like your new pants you just bought. You love those.
Cherise.
You do look good in them.
Well, thank you, Cherise.
I know the audience can't see them,
but the point is that can you even get a glimpse to appreciate any part of who you are when you have a broken body? Can you even see goodness in you, or a skill level, or a talent? If you get to that point, you're not going to discover your purpose. And if you quit, again, you're going to submit and resign and basically conform to a lesser ideology and lesser thoughts about who you are than how God sees you, how other people see you when they love you. as well as your ability to see for yourself.
So I have an epiphany as you're saying that.
Okay.
Because if you quit and become a lesser version of yourself, I'm not talking about the fact that I'm not saying deny your pain, because the pain is real. But if you quit, really what is happening is that the pain didn't destroy you, but quitting destroyed you.
Yes.
And that is the biggest elephant in the room for people who are in pain. Is quitting going to destroy you?
Yes.
And I don't know of anybody that's successfully quit and not been destroyed.
Right. Well, and that's the next point.
Yeah.
To quit is to concede yourself into destruction and misery and possibly death.
Did you actually write that?
Yes.
So I didn't even read it yet. So see, we're on the same track.
Okay.
That's true.
And this is when you lose your appetite for living.
Yeah.
This is when the passion for living is gone. So let's say you're in chronic pain and the passion's gone right now with chronic pain. Mm-hmm. All you're feeling is pain, and pain is over you. Mm-hmm. Okay. We've been in those seasons, mm-hmm. and we've had those episodes where it's been tempting to quit. Okay. So all of that's gone, but you can gain your appetite again. Passions can be stirred up again. New desires can flourish again. But if you quit, you've put a complete stop sign. You've built a complete wall. It is almost like Fort Knox. You cannot break that wall. Mm-hmm. You are going to be resigned to nothing, that point of nothingness.
And somebody that loves the person that's quitting, somebody that loves that person, like, I love you so deeply. But if you would have just resigned and quit completely, Gordon, I couldn't be who I am today.
Right.
Because your pain affects me every day of my life when you walk through it.
Those are hard words.
But it's true. And but quitting would affect me even worse than your pain. And so thank you. When I know there have been dark days, I know you've had suicidal thoughts. I know that you've had bad days. Mm-hmm. But you did not quit. And I'm here to say, I think that our marriage is a living, breathing testimony of the fruit of staying.
I agree. So as you're sharing this is almost like a confessional. And it's obvious you haven't read the notes because this is in the next session.
I am amazed. This is what happens with us, though.
Okay. So let's take the no-quit approach of living. So if someone asked me, Gordon, you felt like quitting, how did you keep going? Well, I'm going to go through bullet points of here's what I've done mentally to keep that no-quit attitude, that no-quit mindset in gear, no matter how I felt or how low my energy was or how many obstacles were against my life.
Come on, Coach Gordon.
Yes, here it is. Number one.
Okay.
Identify who you are in your suffering. Mm. When I press that reset button and I look inwardly, the first question I ask myself, even though I feel smashed at times by pain, who am I? And the answer is very succinct for each one out there. It is who you choose to be. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not going to be the last one to learn something. I'm not going to be prideful and stick by foolish ways of living. Mm-hmm. So right off the bat, I start to think of myself as a student of life. We're all preparing. We're all students. We're all learning. And it's an environment in which we turn our knowledge that we have into a multiplication of understanding through experience. Mm-hmm. Experience takes that knowledge and grows it into understanding, and that inner man, that truth in you that's realized, those moments of truth and that truth that rises to the surface. I'm going to hold on to the truth of how God sees me and the promises of my future.
And does that truth transcend your pain?
Yes.
So it doesn't make it go away.
No.
But does it, how it reframes you, doesn't it?
It reframes me. And what happens is, if I lost the truth,
Right.
and I lost the love of God, that would bother me more than the extent of pain that I sometimes endure.
I believe that.
Okay?
I do believe that.
So what's happened is the pain used to be the top screamer. It was the squeaky wheel getting all the attention. And I know people out there, it is the thing that you're looking at
And it
right
may be
now.
if somebody's in an acute stage and they're in the hospital and, they're drowning in morphine because it's so acute that
Or
there are,
dilauded, but go
there's
ahead.
times where that happens.
Yes.
But the day to day, grinding it out.
Month to month, year to year, decade to decade.
Right.
Okay? You have to get to a point of saying, I'm going to choose to see who I am in this suffering.
I love it.
Okay?
And Gordon, I have to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So when you love somebody and you're the spouse and being supportive, it doesn't mean you deny your own wounds and pain. But it does mean, again, if I saw myself as in my identity as I'm just a woman who has a husband that lives in pain in our life, is miserable because we can't do what our friends do, or we won't do this, or we can't. If I carried that attitude all the time, it comes up at times, but if I carried that like quitter's mentality in our marriage and quitter's mentality over the fact that I can't, if the biggest quitting mentality, quite frankly, that I've had to struggle with is, do I quit because I can't make your pain better? Do I quit? Heck no.
Heck no.
Because there isn't 1 ounce of me that would trade, again, walking this journey out with you, because those deeper things you've said, the truth, learning the truth, walking in the truth, that you can be in pain and still be a loved child of God.
Yes.
And you can love yourself, and you can see that God loves you, and then you can love others, even in pain.
Yes. And I think
I'm not done.
Oh, okay.
And walking the truth.
Yeah.
Living in truth. I wouldn't change those parts about our marriage. I wouldn't change those parts about the lessons that I've learned either.
Yeah. I think that I've struggled with loving myself through pain.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
I have struggled. It's almost like I've closed my eyes to see myself in a mirror. I've said, okay, here's Gordon to the side, where I've spent more time looking at the possibilities, what's ahead, because I didn't love myself.
Right.
And that happens when I get gigantic instances of pain, or if there's too much stress on my life that I can't carry, or if I reach a point of hopelessness in my heart. It's hard for me to say I love myself. Okay?
What turns that around?
The no quit attitude. Doing what I'm talking about right now.
Keep going.
Okay? Choosing to be who we choose to be. God will, he's like a compass. The Holy Spirit in us will guide us and direct us, and we're going to discover who we are through the journey, through that experience of suffering.
That's so good.
So one thing I'd like to say is even in my own mind, what I'm going to do is outline what lessons have I learned through suffering. It's almost like I take that blank paper approach in my mind. Okay, let's hit the reset button. Let's clear the thoughts. I don't want to think about all the things that I haven't accomplished, all the things that are weighing me down, all the people that are weighing me down, all the pain that's weighing me down. I start to think about, here's a blank piece of paper. God, I need clarity and specificity. What can I handle? Let's get rid of the noise in my mind. What lessons have I learned related to the meaning behind pain? Or what lessons have I learned from this inner person being developed?
Right.
And how is Christ being reformed in me? Or the importance of community and sharing in these weaknesses. Okay, and the more you share your weaknesses, the stronger you become.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. And
you must be Hercules.
Yeah, and thank you, Cherise. Thank you for all the weaknesses. Is that the next podcast?
No, I don't know.
We're going to do a podcast on Gordon's weaknesses.
No.
And then discerning what the true value of living is. So all of those thoughts on the deeper levels, I just take a blank paper approach in my mind, and I identify who am I and where am I going to go. Now, here's what's beautiful about these lessons that I just mentioned. Okay, they're not just temporal. They're not just for this world. They're not just to get by day to day.
That's right.
These lessons, being a student of life, these lessons move us into eternity. This is transcendent thinking. These become ancient lessons in our heart that last forever because God's fingerprint is all over them through faith.
100%.
Okay. I wanted to bring up, though, another example. You know how much I love sports and this no quit mentality, no quit, no matter what, comes up through all different sports. But I just wanted to quote the legendary coach, John Wooden. He was a coach at UCLA, and his teams won 10 NCAA championships out of 12 years. Okay? And he's coached some of the most famous players that ever graced the floors of the hardwood of the NBA's best teams, okay?
That's pretty awesome.
And he says this, you should learn as if you were going to live forever and live as if you're going to die tomorrow.
Say that again.
You should learn as if you were going to live forever and live as if you were going to die tomorrow.
Beautiful.
And that's the approach that I take. We don't have time to waste.
We don't.
Okay? If you're knocked down, put on that cap of no quit to your mindset. Keep going.
That's right.
If you die tomorrow, you die tomorrow.
The brevity of life is real.
It is real. We've seen it in family members and friendships,
It is.
and we see it all the time.
It's hitting us at every level right now, actually.
Right. We have no time to just give up.
Yeah.
We have no time to surrender into the lesser than less.
No.
We have no time to say, let's go ahead and live as if we're digging a grave into the past. It is, let's take these lessons and pick up our mat and let's walk it out.
I love that.
Now, John Wooden wrote a little saying here. Here's 4 things he says a person must learn to do. To think without confusion clearly. To love his fellow man sincerely. To act from honest motives purely. To trust God and have insecurities.
To trust God and to have insecurities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason is, when he wrote that, it's because don't let pride build up. Sometimes when we're going through these suffering trials, it's so that we have a dependency on God.
100%.
So it's okay to have insecurities. That doesn't mean you quit.
That's exactly right. As a businesswoman, that is a fundamental principle I have learned in over 25 years of running a real estate company in business.
You haven't tried to cover up insecurities.
I'm very vulnerable at times, or honest, But yeah, I won't quit. I find that the most important thing sometimes, even if I don't have the answer, is showing up, not quitting, not fainting, not letting my own insecurities become what dominates, but being honest about them because, as you said, you don't want pride to become that false self. You'll never get to no quit if you live in your false self.
That's true.
Because you will come to an end of your false self every time. That false self will either lead you to despair, grief, suicide. I mean, all those things. The false self really is destructive. But the authentic self is pretty raw, real, vulnerable. Life is life, and it has a lot of hard knocks. It doesn't mean because we have faith we get out of that. It means because we have faith we have a way through that.
And through those fiery trials, you need a no-quit, super empowered faith to do it.
Absolutely.
Okay?
It's the only way.
It's the only way.
Yeah.
You cannot be complacent or lukewarm or half-hearted.
Yeah.
Or you'll be run right over.
I believe that.
Okay? So let's talk about another thing. We've mentioned right off the bat, identify who you are in your painful suffering. Mm-hmm. Let's take number 2.
We're only at number 2?
We're at number 2. This might be a 3-parter, folks.
Oh my.
Okay, this stuff is so important.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
This is the secret sauce of what keeps me going at times. And I know you must think I have a lot of things moving on, but I've actually taken pieces of my brain and thoughts and I've written them out on paper. Okay, through these seasons, how have I done this?
No, I love it, Gordon.
How can we put words to this to help people even in their faith?
Because I practically watch this happen, but putting words to it is a whole different thing. And it's really exciting.
It
actually.
is. So number 2.
Okay. Do I need to read the notes now?
You might want to look down, Cherise. Number 2, deep pain demands real choices. Okay? You do not have the time to monkey around with the fluffy excuses in your life as to whether or not you should stay on the course of working through life and its seemingly overwhelming problems. So here's the requirement. You have to have a deep evaluation, a deeper dive into your battle against pain so that you can dive into a better solution. You can't just stay on the surface, especially when you're dealing with years and years and years of chronic pain. It's okay to go back to the basics and say, I'm not going to quit. I'm pressing the red button.
Totally.
In my soul. I'm pressing it right now. Calm down everything. Calm down every external force against me. Calm down competing forces that are trying to take over my life right now and make me quit. Calm down. I'm going to take a deeper dive into who I am and where God is in my life in order to come up with a better solution.
Beautiful.
So part of that requirement, we're going to go through a few different points, except we're going to use the alphabet for these. This is A. Okay. This isn't number 1.
All
A.
right.
Quit focusing on your pain problems. Get your eyes off of just your pain. If you keep them on your pain, that's where you're going to stay.
I need to take notes now.
Okay. Quit over analyzing the seemingly unsolvable difficulties that cause you to spin round and round and round into this loop of finding no solutions. This place of knocking your head against the wall several different times and not coming up with a new thing.
That's great.
Now, I wanted to mention one thing before we're coming to a close to this podcast. We're obviously going into podcast.
I mean, we only have A that you just covered.
I know. Okay, here's what I've learned. And this relates to healing. This is why you don't want to quit. Your body will become transformed. in the way you think. There will be a percentage of your physical body that will respond to how you think and how you emotionally interpret all your thoughts. Your body will respond accordingly.
Right.
Okay, now here's the deal. Your body will not respond optimally to healing if you keep judging and hating your own injured or dilapidated body. If you keep judging your body and hating it, you will not respond optimally to healing.
Can I also add,
Yes.
if you keep judging your emotional state?
Yes. Same thing. Yes.
Beautiful.
You will not heal.
Yeah.
You have to let the old parts, your old past, your old injuries, your old traumas, including your judgmental feelings about your physical deficiencies. You have to let those basically float down the rivers of the past. Then you have to learn how to love yourself wholly as a whole person in order to move into the new. You have to reconcile. You have to forgive. You have to get to a point of saying, I'm not going to judge myself harshly anymore. You can evaluate things objectively, but you're not going to judge yourself harshly.
I think, I see that when you lost over 70 pounds and you were naked in front of a mirror and vulnerable with yourself.
Thank you, Cherise.
That you were honest about where you were, but it was funny because that honesty became, instead of judgment, it became truth that set you free.
Right.
You loved yourself enough to look at yourself with truth.
Yes.
And I promise you, your life changed from that day forward.
Yes. I want to share something practically, and then we're going to go into the thoughts of the day.
We better hurry because
we
way
don't have to hurry. This is too important.
Okay.
This is too important.
Go.
Gordon, how did you love your body when you had the scars from surgery?
Was that supposed to be my question?
No, that's for me. And I even posed it with my son when he was a very, very, very young boy. I didn't avoid him. I put vitamin E oil on my scars on my neck. My son and I both touched my scars so that we would not have fear about them.
He was only 2 when you had your first
I let him know that things were going to be okay.
Yep.
I've taken parts of my body, the things that I've tried to reconstruct. Okay, basically moving forward. How can I have a new body from the way I look physically and how I feel? I've actually looked at parts of my body and thought, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be so hard on myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to let God's grace pour over my physical body.
I love it.
By doing these things practically, and then bringing the promises of redemption and healing into your thoughts and into your physical actions, you'll see improvements towards healing. That is a fact.
100%.
Okay? So we're going to finish today. What thought or what valuable takeaway do you have from today's podcast?
The thought I have is that it's amazing to be in communion with a holy God who absolutely will never quit. It's not in his nature. It is not who he is. He didn't create us to quit on us. And we have that same Holy Spirit, his Spirit, in us. When we love and believe in Jesus and his Spirit is in us, there is an absolute connection to that power source of that no quit. The ultimate power source about no quit is God.
Absolutely.
And I love that he gives the strength to carry that principle out from now throughout eternity. And I just think, don't cut your own race short for anybody who's listening today. Because just on the other side, where you think you're going to quit, your greatest breakthrough is about to happen.
And your greatest treasures will get discovered.
Absolutely.
My valuable takeaway, I'm just going to repeat what I read from Coach John Wooden. You should learn as if you're going to live forever and live as if you're going to die tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. So good.
It's time to get started. No quit. Add no quit to your thinking. So that's today's podcast. You can get a hold of us on GordonandCherise.com. You can also subscribe to our Facebook page,
please,
Gordon and Cherise, as well as our private Facebook page, Better Living Community. Okay? And we hope to see you there. And if you think about YouTube, a lot of people aren't. Okay, apparently.
We really need you to.
Go to that YouTube channel and hit subscribe.
Yes.
But let's go ahead and do part 2 next week.
Okay.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. And thank you for your patronage. And please put on that no quit attitude right now for your own life.
And thank you guys for joining us, because we encourage you. We're not quitting on you.
No, we are not.
We believe in you. Keep going.